With all-star closer Devin Williams expected to return sooner than we thought, is he officially a must-add? I'm talking Williams and much more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel. And if you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly, truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth, personalized experience with text messaging alerts right to your phone. We offer so much more on Subtext than we can in these 30-minute episodes. And if you're interested, you could find the link to our Subtext in the bio to wherever you're listening or watching, and the link is also available on any of our social media platforms. This episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. And all right, guys, we're just going to dig right into it. We're talking, if you guys been around, the episode, we're going to talk about some great injured players that are on the way back soon or, just definitely worth stashing. And then we got prospects for you. And we're starting off with a great one today. We are talking some Devin Williams. And for a guy that was arguably the best closer in the league last year, and, my opinion, I'm putting him up there. Devin Williams is still closing for Milwaukee Brewers, in case you guys might have forgotten, or if you didn't even know. Devin Williams only 62% owned. I know it's a little bit higher than we like to talk about on these episodes, but that just means that almost 40% of you guys that are listening can go out there and snag Devin Williams right now for free $99. And as I mentioned earlier, the Brewers general manager, Matt Arnold, confirmed Wednesday that Williams can be back way earlier than we expected. Williams is going to throw his first bullpen session today as I'm recording on Wednesday. Honestly, Williams has been around a long time. We know who he is. My favorite saying, I think I got to get that on a t-shirt at this point. We know who he is. Devin Williams, monster season as his first full-blown first full-blown season as a closer last year. 1.53 ERA for Devin Williams, 61 games, 36 saves, 58 innings, 87 strikeouts, and a 0.92 whip. Going to be 29 years old this season. Right around the prime of the career for the closers. I think Devin Williams is just going to be monstrous the rest of the way. So easy must-add pickup. Pause the podcast moment. Make sure Devin Williams isn't available in any of your leagues. And honestly, you might be able to throw out a little offer there for him if he's already owned, and before we see the ramp up, before we see him striking everybody out in the minors, before the Brewers announce, hey, he's ready to come back, mid-July. I think we need to make sure add Devin Williams if we can and go out there and trade for him if he's already owned. Let's go from an elite closer to a potentially elite starting pitcher. Let's talk some Robbie Ray, another guy that's right around the corner. And we've talked Robbie Ray a decent amount on these episodes. And, I know some of you might be getting a little tired of it, but he's getting closer. And you know what? Even if you are getting tired, Robbie Ray is still only 23% owned in Robbie Ray's last rehab outing, which was over the weekend last weekend. He struck out 2. He allowed no earned runs, only 1 hit, 1 walk over 2.1 innings, and that was in AAA. I think, Robbie Ray is, somebody who's going to have those big strikeout numbers that we've seen from him in the past. Pitching in San Francisco, hopefully that can help. Once again, Robbie Ray went over to those San Francisco Giants in the offseason. I'm hoping that can, limit some of the home runs that Robbie Ray is known to give up. I really think we can see, a mid 3 ERA with a lot of strikeouts and, maybe like a 1.2-ish whip, maybe like a 1.25 whip from Robbie Ray. And that might, be a little bit worse at first because, one of the last things to come back from an injured pitcher is the control. So Robbie Ray, once again, pitching for those San Francisco Giants now. I definitely think he should be, at least 40, 50% owned. I know it's tough with all the injuries that we have out there. And, it's tough to make room for guys on your IL. But, in those leagues we have unlimited IL spots, or, if you're somehow magically healthy and you need a good starting pitcher to stash, Robbie Ray is widely available. And let's move on to our next guy. Let's talk some Walker Buehler. And you're like, maybe you're not. I was going to say, maybe you're like, Don, why are we talking Walker Buehler? He's probably 90% owned. He's actually not. Walker Buehler has been dropped in plenty of league. Walker Buehler's down to 68% owned. And I still believe. And honestly, if he isn't available in your league, I think you can go out there and get him for pennies on the dollar right now. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if you had to pay 50 cents on the dollar for what Walker Buehler was worth coming into the year. Somebody was flying up draft boards. When we thought he was going to be, healthy and starting the year on time and all that stuff, but then that went wayside and he started falling a little bit more. But on the year, Walker Buehler, 8 starts, 5.84 ERA, 1.51 whip, 37 innings, 31 strikeouts, under a K per 9. This isn't who this guy is. I think it's a case of Walker Buehler is, trying to pitch like he used to. And I don't know if that is, possible anymore for Walker Buehler. Once again, Walker Buehler is pitching for those Los Angeles Dodgers, out in Cali there. All the underlying stuff looks really bad, for Buehler. If you go back, a couple of years, 2021 to be specific, all the underlying stuff looked great. The fastball was sitting around 95 with the cutter around 92. Kind of just want to see where he's at again this year because I know it was a lot. Actually, the fastball velocity is actually better, 96. Sinker at 95. The pitch mix is actually kind of crazy here for Buehler. It looks like he's just kind of throwing the kitchen sink out there. It does look a lot different than it did in 22. The sinker was only being thrown 4% of the time in 2022 and even let's go back to 2021. It's even 7% of the time in 2021. So I don't know why he's doing this. I don't know if that's the answer to his success. Maybe just mix up the pitch mix and kind of go back to what was working for him back in the day. Even the pitches themselves just don't have that bite on it. I remember I saw a quote from Walker Buehler, friendly show, so I won't say exactly what he said, but to paraphrase, he's like, my fastball doesn't have that that FU on it, that it used to. So maybe it's just a break in the movement on it because the velocity's up. I think Walker Buehler can figure this out. He's 29 years old, a little bit older, than some of us that have been playing fantasy or watching baseball for a while would think. But you know what? He's getting up there. I still do like the prospects of if he was dropped in your league of just picking him up for free. Or once again, if you can pay 50, 60 cents on the dollar for a Walker Buehler right now, I'm all about it. I don't think he'll ever be, the Cy Young contender that he used to be. But if he's a guy that can pitch to, like a low 3s ERA, maybe hover around that K per 9, maybe be like right under it with, some solid control and get that whip back to what, Walker Buehler was known for. I think there's a solid chance that happens. Real quick, guys, coming up next, we're going to talk about 2 young starting pitchers. I'll throw the names out there. We're going to talk about some Max Meyer and some Christian Scott. And when will they be, on their way back up to the bigs? We're going to find out soon. And here at Locked On Fantasy Baseball, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team. Whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or playoffs, it's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A-plus rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes or have complicated matters that require tax planning or finally hit that parlay this season and need help filing correctly, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. You can also see the link in the episode description down below. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. And are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch over to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And then once again, guys, we're talking about the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As this season continues to unfold, you can rely on Matt and I for dynamic content, get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to your victories begin. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. And once again, you guys can find the bio to our Subtext wherever you're listening or watching, and then also you can find it on any of our social media platforms. So, all right, guys, let's get back into it. That's what we're here to do. We got a couple of more, great guys that are on the IL to stash, and then we got some prospects as I teased before. But before we get to those, we're going to talk some Edward Cabrera. And Big Eddie Cabrera, has been hurt quite a bit this season. But you know what? There is a lot of upside here because when he was pitching, he did show some promise as he has, throughout his whole career. Edward Cabrera so far this year has made 5 starts. They actually haven't been really good. I know at least one of them was good. I'm going to fact check myself on that, but it was a 7.17 ERA, actually 21 innings, 31 strikeouts, and a 1.59 whip. Eddie Cabrera is never going to really, have a monstrous whip, and blow you away in that category. But you know what? He has big strikeout upside. Once again, just going to pull up that. I believe it was his first game out because I know I missed picking him up in a couple of my leagues, and boy, was I angry. All right, so here we go. Sorry about that, folks. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but I am back here with you once again. And we were talking about Edward Cabrera's first start on April 15th. It was 6 innings. He only gave up 1 earned run. He had 10 strikeouts and was just looking fantastic. And even in the second start, he still looked okay against the Cubs. It was 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, 3 earned runs. But we started to see, the wheels turn off a little bit there. And then his last 3 starts were absolutely putrid. Might have been trying to pitch through this injury, and was just wanted to stay on the field, because as much as Eddie Cabrera hasn't been able to stay on the field, I'm sure that's, what he was trying to do. The talent is there. Like I said, major strikeout upside, has shown it throughout his whole career in the bigs and in the minors. And, Eddie Cabrera's just got some good stuff, man. This is just a kid that, if he could put it all together, could really dominate. And a lot of the underlying stuff for Eddie Cabrera looks really good for this year. So I'm buying in. I think we need to get him stashed, especially in those deeper leagues. We're going to grab his ownership percentage real quick. I know it's pretty low, and he's another guy that is supposedly going to be back sooner than later. Eddie Cabrera, 12%, and once again, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but he does pitch for those Miami Marlins. So here we go. Eddie Cabrera's already rock and rolling. Struck out 7 over 4 hit list on Tuesday in a minor league rehab assignment in AAA. He's just looked good down in the minors so far. I think he's going to be in Miami starting a rotation sooner than later. The depth there has really fallen off a cliff from last year, with guys like Sandy Alcantara, Max Meyer even got sent back down. So there's just spots right there, right now in that Miami rotation. So Eddie Cabrera, I think, is somebody that could really, hit the ground running. I think we need to stash it. All right, let's move on, guys. We are now we actually got one more. We got one more last guy. We're going to talk a little bit of Matt McLain. Matt McLain is a little bit behind, rest of these guys as far as, getting back on the diamond. But honestly, I really think McLain might be the most talented, and actually is the only bat we're talking about. So definitely the most talented bat that we're, talking about as far as IL stashes go. Matt McLain's 44% owned. He should be swinging a bat soon. That's a good thing. His timeline is going to look really weird. I honestly, it's going to be probably late July, maybe early August. But Matt McLain is somebody that's going to be a difference maker as far as I'm concerned. I know that Cincinnati Reds lineup is hurting for a bat to get back in there after they lost Strand. Once again, Christian Encarnacion Strand, who also plays for the Cincinnati Reds with Matt McLain, is having season-ending surgery. So you can feel free to drop Encarnacion Strand as much as, Matt and I loved him coming into the year. But once again, Matt McLain last year, 89 games, 365 at-bats, 65 runs, 23 doubles, 4 triples, 16 homers, 50 RBIs, 14 steals, and he hit 290. So the power and speed combo, absolutely love it. Matt McLain getting most of his game or half of his games in Great American Small Park in Cincinnati. You got to love that too. So just a great hitter to stash. He has second and short eligibility on Yahoo, Matt McLain does. So I think it's a great stash at the moment. There's so lack of good bats right now and just pitchers dominating. When you can get a guy that can come back to your team and add you that home run, speed, potential, counting stats and the runs and RBIs, and also be a positive addition in batting average, got to get Matt McLain on our teams. And you know what, guys? I'm going to be good to you. We're going to sneak in another name here. We're going to sneak in Max Meyer. I love me some Max Meyer. I was huge on Max Meyer when he got drafted, all the way, up until when he made his major league debut, which I believe was against the Phillies, because Matt and I actually watched Max Meyer's major league debut together. And this was a guy, he was always around. Him and Grayson Rodriguez were, 1 and 2 for a while when you're talking about top pitching prospects a few years ago. Max Meyer's 25% owned, and kind of the same case I was making with Edward Cabrera, I'm going to make with Max Meyer, in the sense that Max Meyer is an excellent starter pitching, prospect, and he's a great player. And, who else does Miami really have in that rotation at the moment? Why not get this kid back up there and just see what you got? He's been super successful this year, Max Meyer, in the bigs, 3 starts, 2 of those, a 2.12 ERA, an 0.82 whip, 17 innings, 14 strikeouts. The prospect pedigree is there for, the big righty. I love it. And I just want to see how he's actually – so this is the tough part. He's actually been struggling a little bit in the minors, right? 10 starts this year in the minors, a 6.23 ERA, 34 innings, 42 strikeouts, and a 1.55 whip. So maybe we don't see him as soon as I thought. But you know what the thing is here? Remember Taj Bradley last year? The thing with Taj Bradley last year was he did the same. He did the Max Meyer. He came up, dominated, then got sent back down by Tampa. And I think it's just very deflating, in life when you're being successful, doing everything you need to do on your end, but your team just isn't letting you continue to do it. And then even in life, it happens to all of us. So I do still have some faith in Max Meyer, who is 25 years old, starting pitcher for the Miami Marlins. I do think we see him sooner than later. And coming up next, as I mentioned, we got some Christian Scott and a bunch of other can't miss prospects for you guys. And guys, real quick, we're talking LinkedIn. Are you struggling to close deals? Business to business selling is tougher than ever these days. And that's why I need to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage in high-value customers, drive higher revenues, and increase sales performance. Once again, their Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert over. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that really matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon to get started. And this episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to and learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rival cities with hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball's rival city. From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city. And guys, I do have to admit, as most of you probably know if you're avid listeners, I am a diehard Yankee fan. Camden Yards is beautiful. With Booking.com, you could definitely go see some of these other stadiums. And even if you don't like the team, you can still like the stadium. So once again, book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the app on Booking.com. All right, guys, I've been teasing you with it all episode, so we're finally going to get there. We're going to talk some Christian Scott of the New York Mets. And last I saw, Christian Scott is on his way back sooner than later. I know the Mets have a stretch coming up of 17 games in 17 days. So they're going to need some starting pitcher help for there. And, why wouldn't they turn back to Christian Scott, who through 5 starts this year has a 3.90 ERA, a 1.08 whip, 27 innings, 25 strikeouts, and has a lot of, upside, some prospect pedigree there as well. Christian Scott is only 15% owned. So if you need to get you another, good pitcher in your rotation, you could definitely take that, route with Christian Scott. Once again, Carlos Mendoza, the manager of the Mets, said there's a good chance of Scott being called up of these 17 games in 17 days. So they have starters confirmed through Saturday. So, Scott could be called up Sunday to start against the Astros. But, I could see him making one more start in, AAA before the Mets do call him back up. But when Christian Scott does get called back up, I think he's an absolute must add. So I think we need to get ahead of everybody else and, get Christian Scott now while we can. Because I guess I said, this is a guy who's come up and had success before, so he's going to get added literally as soon as that happens. Underlying stuff for Scott isn't blowing me away. There is some good stuff there. I think he's going to be good at limiting runs. I think the ERA is going to actually trend in the other direction. I just would love to see a little bit more swing and miss, a little bit more chase, with Christian Scott, I think that is in his game. Has the good minor league track record there too. So we shall see. Chris, did I mention his ownership percentage? If not, we're going to hit that right now. Oh yeah, 50. I did say 15% for Christian Scott. So very widely available. I think we need to add him now. These next three names that I'm going to talk about are guys that are on the proximity of getting called up. So the names we're going to definitely want to keep in mind. The first one is Brooks Lee of the Minnesota Twins. Brooks Lee is a guy I've had my eyes on for a while, just as far as I think this guy is going to come up and be very good. He's the 14th overall prospect in all of baseball, according to MLB.com. Brooks Lee, shortstop, once again, for the Minnesota Twins, is 23 years old, 6'1", 205 pounds, really known for his hit tool, has a little bit of above average power, could play a little bit of, defense, has a good arm from out there as well in the field. Is just tearing it up this year, just really tearing up the minors, finally taking off like a lot of people thought he was going to. 358 batting average for Brooks Lee in 26 games this year in the minors, 23 runs with 7 doubles, 6 homers, 23 RBIs, 12 walks to 15 strikeouts, and he's chipped in 2 steals as well. So no, Brooks Lee isn't going to steal you, a big amount of bases. But like I said, the power is real. The hit tool is real. It's a guy that can hit 300. The Twins, honestly, have been cooking up some good prospects over the years. Look at our, Royce Lewis out there, excelling and being great. Why can't Brooks Lee come up and do the same? I don't think he's going to be as good as Royce Lewis, but I think Brooks Lee is a guy to keep your eyes on now. He's 3% owned on Yahoo. You could definitely keep that name in the back of your head, because if you get that call-up notification, if you join the Diamond Club on Subtext, definitely going to want to add him. Let's go from Brooks Lee to Cole Young. Cole Young is a prospect for those Seattle Mariners. I actually own, I'm a Cole Young owner in one of my dynasty leagues. Somebody I'm super excited to, see get called up to the bigs maybe this year. He plays, a bit of shortstop. So, they do got JP Crawford there, Seattle does. But I don't think that's going to, hold, a prospect like Cole Young back for too long. Cole Young is the 26th overall prospect in all of baseball, according to MLB.com. This year in AAA, Cole Young's hitting 274 through 63 games with 39 runs, 13 doubles, 7 homers, 32 RBIs, 34 walks to 45 strikeouts, and 12 steals. Now, Cole Young, another guy really known for that hit grade, not so much the power, a bit of above average run tool. So I think Cole Young is a guy that could, come up, show us some power, show us a little bit of speed, in that Seattle lineup that desperately needs something to get it, just up and going to where it needs to be. I could see Cole Young getting called up this year. And, with a lot of these names on this episode, we're just making sure you're aware of, prospects that are very close proximity to getting called up, and letting you know what we want to do when they get called up, whether they must add, somebody you kind of want to wait and see on. Like a Cole Young is a little bit more of I'm going to have him on my watch list, maybe not picking up the second he gets called up, like, somebody like Brooks Lee or Scott or Meyer, kind of just a little bit more of a wait and see thing. But if you have the name in your back of your head and, you see Cole Young gets called up and he goes on a 2-3 game hit streak with some power and some speed, okay, you know what? I've heard the name before. I'm going to pick him up. And then if that's a guy that can keep things rolling and, you're the one who got him. You knew the name. You weren't afraid to pick him up. I know when I first started playing fantasy baseball, even through, third, fourth year, there was just guys that I'd be like, that guy stinks. I want nothing to do with him ever. But, the game of fantasy baseball is just really about maximizing your value and, just getting the most you can out of players and knowing, as much as you can about the game. And that's really how I found myself excelling at fantasy baseball. But guys, guess what? I do have one more name for you before we head out for the day. And we're talking about Moises Ballesteros of the Chicago Cubs. He is a catching prospect. I really think this kid has got, some upside going forward in his career. As I mentioned, Ballesteros is a catcher, and, the Cubs don't really have anybody, holding down the fort at catcher like that at the moment. And with Ballesteros, I really think he has a chance of getting called up this year, hitting well, has a little bit of power in that bat. I just think he, is somebody that I'm, maybe not picking up, like I said, the second he gets picked up, like the Cole Youngs. But I do think that, Ballesteros is somebody we could see this year. Just want to make sure you guys are familiar with the name in case he does get called up. And then once again, folks, bear with me through this. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties here on my end with my internet. So as I'm trying to wrap things up here, my internet doesn't want to work with me. So you know what? I'm going to call it here. I do apologize, here for the end, the difficulties here at the end. But thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And guys, until tomorrow, see ya.